What's been occurring in my case is the standard playbook, the textbook example of narcissistic abuse on the part of Nicola Lewis, ultimately towards myself. And I'm going to go through the stages of narcissistic abuse in a minute. And I want to point out at this point that I suppose, as for laying the groundwork, which is the first stage of narcissistic abuse, I suppose it's been going on probably ever since my father and Nicola first met, which was in about 2019, no, not 2019, 2012, possibly even, or 2013, going back, that far even, back to when I was 19 years old, or so I'm about to go to university in Utrecht. And this may be a major factor in explaining why people seem to turn against me in Utrecht, because this is what narcissists do. They gather their flying monkeys and they turn friends, family, co-workers against you. So just to begin, I'm going to tell you what the stages of narcissistic abuse are. And this is how it unfolds in most cases. So laying the groundwork. The narcissist drops subtle hints, fake concerns, or minor complaints about you long before any conflict occurs. So this is textbook. It's a very subtle, very protracted, careful process of trying to sow the seeds and doubts about you in the minds of other people. And it's always with fake concern, always like this, and this amateur psychology sort of stuff that they do. And then the second instance is playing the victim. They twist situations to look like they are the hurt party, making you look bad. That is exactly what Nicola Lewis did in the run-up to me getting kicked out of my home, out of my father's home. Spreading rumours. They tell lies or exaggerate your actions to damage your reputation. Yes, indeed, I believe that they have done that, telling lies about me being to having certain sexual perversions, which I won't go into just now, but they were trying to say I was a paedophile, I think. And I think that the UEA, they were trying to put child pornography on my computer, but I sussed out what they were doing, and I managed to prevent that before it occurred. And then they tried to kill me on a staircase as an act of desperation, I think. Using flying monkeys. This is very interesting. They recruit friends, family, or co-workers, known as flying monkeys, to do their dirty work, spy on you, or spread their stories further. So I know I'm being watched, at least by someone. Callum Pryor, for instance, could be a flying monkey. That's very possible, I think. He's been recruited by Nikki Lewis to act as a proxy for her, one of many proxies, turning family against you, making themselves look like the hurt party. This email I sent to her, just as a reactive act, basically. Saying I was glad her son was dead, which I actually stand by, because I'm sort of glad that little scumbag is dead. But that awful little junkie who was fucking his mother. I am sort of glad he's died. But just one less person to get hold of the farm. One down, sort of two to go. Nicola and her other son. But provoking a reaction. They push your buttons on purpose until you get upset or angry. Reactive abuse. Then point to your anger as proof that you're unstable. And this is what has sat behind many sectionings of mine. Reactive abuse. That could also be tarring me with psychotic illnesses, so as to turn large portions of the population who have inherent prejudices against people with psychotic illnesses, to turn them against you, to make you into a pariah, more or less, push you to the fringes of society, make you marginalised, everything else, then kick you out of your home, drive you into poverty, make you homeless. That increases your chances of developing things like serious drug addictions, or taking crack or heroin or something like this, and then that causes the slow decline into oblivion. And there's turning people against you. That also turns people against you if you're homeless. A lot of people in society look down upon the homeless. They look down upon people who take any kind of drugs. They treat them as degenerates or lowlives or scum or whatever. And the more that you can prop up that sort of opinion and present yourself as the antithesis of that, and that you're the good person, I'm just the victim of his horrible abuse. And yeah, obviously people would accuse me of being a narcissist and abusing her, but she's got away with things like trying to stitch me up for affray charges and destroying my laptop, and all this stuff that went on at UEA which hasn't been investigated. And she is connected to the establishment on some level, so they're not going to go after their own. My father also, one of her flying monkeys basically, has been physically violent to me on many occasions. And he lied about it in a phone call that I recorded. I've still got on my YouTube channel. You can look at that if you want. That's out there now. He started out by lying about it, saying, "Oh, we've never been violent towards you." Then he totally contradicted himself and exposed himself. This is what they'll do. They'll lie to your face. They'll gaslight you. They'll try to deny reality. And that is established fact now. That has witnesses to it. That is what she has done. And he has never been sectioned, even though he's demonstrably a danger to other people. Myself, for instance. But then again, what rights do I have as a mentally ill person with a psychotic illness? None. And this is the playbook. This is exactly what she wants. She wants to get me disinherited at least somehow, ideally killed. Drive my father into dementia. With I don't know, putting something silver in his pasta or whatever. And eventually, and gain power of attorney, so she gains control of the farm or gain control of a trust by trying to establish mental incompetence within me, and so on, and putting me in a position where I've got to fight for what I was promised growing up, half of that farm, and to take it on one day and all this, and that asset base, which would, raise my living conditions, obviously. And no one wants to live in poverty. No one wants to live on the streets or live in a homeless shelter. No one does, not really. We all want our own home, at least. And that's what I want. And sorry to say, I don't want necessarily a massive ostentatious life and mansions and private jets and all this sort of thing. I don't want that shit necessarily, or fast cars. Not necessarily. I don't, actually, at all. But I do want a comfortable life, if you see what I mean. And spreading rumours, tell lies, exaggerate your actions, damage your reputation. Anything they can get hold of to damage my reputation, they will try and do. So, what people need to get better at is looking at the playbook of the narcissist abuser and the ways in which they recruit people, try and subtly imply concerns. It's always we care about him. It's always so saccharine and schmaltzy, and it's always set up to make them look like they're such a decent, noble person. Always, which sort of accords with what their idealized self-image would be, as a pillar of the community, or someone who's morally superior to most people. That's like one element of narcissism. The persistent claim that you're better than others on some level. That's always in there to some extent. Either more intelligent, more attractive, or of greater moral worth. Those are the big three categories that the narcissist will try and project to a community. More intelligent, intellectually superior, which she isn't really, Nicola. She's pretty average. She sort of does things like collect all these books that she doesn't actually read to again give the impression that she's very well read and so on, that she's very intelligent. But you can look at the spines on all those books, there are no crinkles on them. It is just a facade. That's the thing. Really, in intellectual terms, she's very average, or slightly below average, possibly. And she's incredibly devious, but she's not very intelligent, I wouldn't have said. And yeah, like morally superior. Like, she'll put on a show of it again. Like, oh, I'm going to take in Syrian refugees. Aren't I wonderful? Like, it never happened. She never actually went through with that. And she never took in Ukrainian refugees when that was going on, even though I'm sure she went around blathering about the fact that she would. Didn't happen. They had an empty house, townhouse farm. They could have filled it with refugees. That didn't happen, did it? Do you see? It's all talk, no trousers. It's the attempt to put on an act of caring, of moral worth, of being a pillar of the community, etc. All the while, like, they are anything but. And as for physical attractiveness, like, a lot of older men would probably consider her quite an attractive woman, and that gives people a lot of power. Like, I think she's a sickening, desiccated old slapper of a husk. But I mean, I would sooner cut my bollocks off than entertain any idea about putting my precious penis into that disgusting cunt of hers that Max Lewis slithered out of. But that is narcissistic abuse. Like, me getting angry and upset, like, that is reactive abuse. It's her pushing my buttons constantly to try and get a rise out of me, and then saying, see, he's unstable, he needs to be sectioned, then using sectioning as punishment. And round it goes, and everybody, like, just folds like dominoes that she set up, and they don't see that. You know, that she needs forensic psychological examination. She needs to be in a forensic psych ward. So does my father, really. Or maybe my father needs an acute ward, but he'd probably beat people up on an acute ward, so etc.